Good.
Guys, I'm going to ask you to open up to page 960.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we're going to discuss today a very important topic. We are at Erev Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and we're in the final ascent to the top of the mountain. We're preparing to hear the Kol Godel V'Lo Yosef, the eternal voice that cascades off the mountaintop. And there's a very important idea that I thought I'll share with you today. We live in a society that is obviously very indulgent, very self-centered. We feel we're entitled to a lot of stuff. And we don't like the concept of personal responsibility, of living with fear. In truth, our bodies represent a very important duality. You have to find a balance between love and fear, between ahava and yira. The ahava we're all ready for. Give me love. But in truth, ahava without yira, we've spoken before, is not very meaningful. It's not meaningful at all. And we need to have yira. Yira somayim, Reishis Chochma, the beginning of wisdom. Yiras Hashem is the fear of Hashem. And without Yira, there is no Ahava. Now, on Shavuos, we have a very interesting concept which we do not have with any other Chagim. There are two psukim in the Torah that seemingly contradict one another. On the one hand, the Torah refers to the Chag of Shavuos as a festival which was dedicated to Hashem. In another pasuk, it seems to infer that it's important that it is a chag which is lachem, for you. And the Gemara tells us that on Atzeres, on Shavuos, kula alma moida, everybody agrees the bo'ina nami lachem, that we are supposed to have a good time. We're supposed to be half dedicated for Hashem and half dedicated for Lachem. We're supposed to find some kind of, not necessarily half, but we're supposed to find a balance between the spiritual and the material. On Shavuos, we're all familiar, and we identify somewhat Shavuos with good cheesecakes, good food, a beautiful spread. You walk into the Beis Medrash, into the Beis HaKnesses, the beautiful flowers. We tantalize and excite the senses, and at the same time, it's a day of staying up all night, restraint, responsibility. And that's really, if we think about it, it's all about marriage. On Shavuos, we are getting married. Chazal describe the mountain that was on top of the Jewish people as a chuppah. That's why in many shuls over the bima they actually put a chuppah. Here we do it too, because it's essentially a marriage that we're experiencing with Hashem. Now at a marriage you always have good food, there's a lot of excitement and a lot of delights, but at the same time it's an awesome time. It's a time of great yira. There's a certain somber sense of responsibility that is the foundation and is the introduction to a marriage. It's fascinating that I always find the transition from before the chuppah to after the chuppah is quite marked. It's a sense of vayitzchak. It's a sense of, it's like a point of stark change. And I'll explain it to you. I don't know if you've been to a chassan's tish, And in the Hasidic world, not so much in the world at large, but in the Hasidic world, a chassan stish is a very serious affair. The chassan is sitting there, and it's a time of teshuvah. It's a time of preparing. It's a time of recognizing what awesome responsibilities one is undertaking. The ksuva is being prepared, and in the ksuva is outlined and specified what kind of responsibilities the chassan is undertaking. It's serious. It's really serious. Not easy. And it's almost, when I became a chassan, and the tradition is in many circles that a badchan will stand up, a person will stand up, and they will sing serious songs, very serious. Talks about teshuvah and talks about recognizing the power of the moment and understanding that as much as one absorbs now, one is setting the foundations, solid foundations for many generations to come. There are ideas that are woven into prose and song and given over to the chassan, and if he's really, really good, the guy who's saying it, you'll see the chassan will be crying, the people around him might be crying. It's a very somber moment, it's a serious moment. The walking to the chuppah, today in America everything is so watered down, downplayed, and it's become kind of part of we've unfortunately, this one goes down, the bridesmaids go down, they throw the flowers and everybody laughs, and the music is a little jolly with this one and that one, reflecting the mood of each person that walks down. But that's not really, obviously sometimes one has to do that in order to satisfy family members, but in essence it's a very, very somber moment. Afterwards, the moment that the plate is broken, everybody bursts out in joyous acclaim. Mazel tov! Siman tov, mazel tov, and everybody dances the chassan kal. And there's kind of this transition, a moment of tzchoik, laughter. Tzchoik, if you think about it, what brings about laughter? Laughter is always a unexpected transition into a zone that one was entirely not thinking about. Something entirely different. It's the juxtaposition of opposites that creates tzchoik, that creates laughter. Shavuos is the absolute, being that it's a marriage between us and Hashem, it is the absolute replica of a real marriage. In its essence, in its foundation, it's all about yira. There is a fear, there is a sense of the awesome responsibilities that we are about to undertake, and at the same time there's joy, there's great happiness and excitement and laughter, and so much so that if there's something missing at the meal, that means that we're not really connected. The reason why we have such good food on Shavuos, even though it's Atzeres, we're connecting to the Torah. We're becoming Hashem's holy people. Why do we need this delicious cheesecake? What do we need all these goodies and delights for? It's a wedding. And if we're not ready to celebrate, that means that we're not really appreciative of the responsibilities of marriage. It's quite fascinating. If a person really understood what they're getting into, they'd wonder, well, why am I making such a simcha? This is a big responsibility. This is going to be really, 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 really life-changing. And yet, it's the greatest simcha. And anybody who's mesameach the chassan, it's as if they're building the chorvus of Yerushalayim. Jerusalem is a great simcha. Going up to Jerusalem is a great simcha. And yet going up to Jerusalem is called lirois v'leirois. It's called 3 times a year. Hashem says you should see me. When you see Hashem, seeing creates yira. A genuine intimacy, a genuine connectivity has to carry a sense of awe and responsibility and fear of losing the relationship. Now I am responsible to think about what you want and what you need. When Hashem gives us the Torah, the purpose of Torah is entirely based, and our ability to embrace Torah and absorb Torah is entirely based on yira. Not traditionally, the way we explain it traditionally, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that someone's going to get me. I'm afraid this is going to happen, that's going to happen. I'm afraid of punishment. Yira means I'm afraid of losing the relationship. I have to cherish this. And cherishing means I have to restrain from anything that might detract from the relationship. And for this reason, the Torah is given to us in shock and awe. And we have a mitzvah, according to some Rishonim, it is a mitzvah d'oraisa, to remember the day that the Torah was given to us at Sinai. I think that guy is at the door, he wants to come in there. If you can open up your Chumashim, we're going to read the Psukim and relive a little bit what took place at Sinai. First, Hashem tells us, and this is in Devarim, chapter 4, and it's possible 6 and 7. First, Hashem says to us, we're all connected, intimately connected, and we have to know that. We're all bonded. We're all in a relationship of marriage. And Hashem says to us, Re'ei, limaditi eschem, I'm going to teach you the chukim and the mishpatim. And you should guard them and do them. This is your wisdom. This is your knowledge before the nations of the world. That they'll all recognize that there is no one as wise and as deep as you. You're going to become my chosen nation. And what is unique about you in Pasuk Zayin? Kimi goy godel. Is there any nation in the world that is so great? Asher loy elikim krevim elav. That to them Hashem is close to them. Hashem Elokeinu, like Hashem our God, b'chol koreinu elav. Whenever we call out to Him. Is there then a God that Hashem is so close to? We're becoming Hashem's chosen people. Well, you've got to realize Hashem is saying to us, what a privilege! You're becoming part of the heavenly order. And is there any great nation that has so many righteous decrees and laws? Like this Torah, by giving you these detailed instructions, it means that you're very special, that you're very hallowed, that you have a very fine frequency, and you're attuned to the heavenly throne in a very, very intimate way. And therefore, now here's the pasuk we're going to look at, pasuk test, and in fact, it could be this is a mitzvah d'oraisa. Rak, only this I ask from you. One has to be beware and careful. Hisham, guard yourself. Ushmar nafshecha me'oid, and guard your being exceedingly. Pentishkach es hadvorim asher ra'u einecha, lest you forget the words, the matters, the details that your eyes saw. Upen yosulu milvavcha, lest they be removed from your heart. Kol yimei chayecha, all the days of your life. You have to remember the events that transpired at Sinai, the fire, the awesome display of God's might. And you should give it over to your children, and to your sons' sons. What are you giving over? You're giving over this. Yom asher almadata lifnei Hashem elokecha b'chorev. Give over exactly the day that you stood before Hashem your God at Chorev. Be'emor Hashem Elai, when Hashem said to us, Hakeli es ha'am, gather together for me the whole people, va'ashmi'em, and I will make them hear as Devorai, my words. Asher yilmudun, I will teach them, liyira oisi, to fear me. Fear is the fundamental foundation of our relationship with Hashem. I will teach them to fear me, kol hayomim, all the days, asher himchaim al adama, that they're alive on earth. Ves b'neihem yelamedun, and to their sons they will teach it further. And you'll remember the mountain burning in fire ad lev hashamayim, until the heavens, the darkness, the cloud, the heavy mist, the thick cloud that lay on the mountain. And you'll remember the fire. You remember hearing my voice bellowing through until, and you didn't, and so on. And the Torah describes exactly what took place at Sinai. We remember the whole events that took place at Sinai. Now, I would think what we need to recall about the Sinai divine revelation at Sinai is the instructions. We should remember the 10 Commandments. That's what's important. I'm Hashem, your God. Don't have any other gods. And so on. It won't absorb. It won't be a part of us unless we recognize and realize that we have to have fear with it. That there is yira, there is fear, there is a sense of seeing Hashem. The Gemara tells us that when we learn Torah, we are commanded to learn Torah exactly as it was given at Sinai. Be'ema, be'yira, be'reses, u'bezeya. With ema, with fear. Be'yira, with seeing God. Be'reses, with trembling. Be'zeya, with sweat. I learned Torah, chill, sit back. You want to sort of just kick back. And we all do. Because we want to feel comfortable. We need it air conditioned. My father told me he learned in Haida, and he was born in England in 1920, and he was very privileged that his father had the understanding and appreciation that when he was 19 he sent him to Eastern Europe, not really to Eastern Europe, he sent him to Belgium. He was afraid to send him into the heartland of Eastern Europe, but he sent him to Belgium in, I think it was 1938. And he was learning in the Haida yeshiva. There was a yeshiva there that was infused with some of the spirit and verve that was there in Eastern Europe. He had a mashgiach. In this yeshiva in Haida, there was a great Rosh Yeshiva that lived with fear of Hashem, a Bal Musa, an incredible person. And there was a mashgiach, Rabbi Yosef Begun, who was a very great person. He saw also Reb Motel Pergamansky, some of the greats of yesteryear, truly God-fearing. He told me when the mashgiach, we have a picture of his mashgiach who perished in the war as a young man. We have a picture of him in our house because he had such a profound impact. My father only learned in the yeshiva for that year and a half, and then he came back to England, basically went to work. But it was life-changing, transformative. Told me just the image of the mashgiach, just hearing his shiurim made such an indelible impression on him. Just his very being. They used to have turns to serve the mashgiach. He was such a God-fearing man. He brought a suitcase with him. There wasn't in the suitcase, all his Axe antiperspirants and some colognes and some, all his personal needs. He had a suitcase, in it was matzahs. Because he was so Yori v'chorid, he had such a year of Shemaim, he was afraid of being over and transgressing the Issur of Chodosh. we're not so particular. Many of us are not so particular. There's a Bach that tells us that in our times, potentially in Chutz La'aretz, there's not really an Issur. And in Eastern Europe, many people would rely on this. But he was so afraid of perhaps produce that hadn't yet gone through Pesach, that hadn't yet gone through the mitzvah of Omer. He would keep the food with him. He was an absolute. Now my father told me, he had a lung condition and he always needed fresh air. So he used to learn outside on the veranda, on the balcony. My father says he remembers in the winter he would sit and learn with his hat and his jacket always. He's in the army, he's wearing his uniform. And he would sit on the porch, and it was in the middle of the winter. It was freezing cold. It was icy outside, and my father remembers looking out of the window, and he was immersed in the Gemara, and his beard, it must have been raining, and his beard was like an ice pop. It was full of icicles, and he was completely immersed in the Gemara. My father said that image remained with him for the rest of his life. He saw a connection to Torah that is totally, it's fear, it's yira. There's a certain ema and a yira and a rest. I'm learning the word of Hashem. I'm communicating with Hashem. This is a real marriage. There is dignity. There is self-respect. There is respecting, there's a desire to understand the other. It's not about frivolity. See, we have such a desire to let our hair and let our payers down and just, let loose and be easy. It's our nature. Before the giving of the Torah, there was intense preparations, but particularly 3 days before the giving of the Torah, there are special injunctions that were placed upon the Jewish people so that they should accept Torah with total fear, without any trace of just letting go. Because the way they accepted it then carries over through the generations and allows us to access it through time. And they accepted Torah with such fear. As the pasuk says, in order that there should be yirasi al pneichem levilti techto, that your yira, your fear, your seeing me, should be so clear that you should never sin again. It sounds very rochik, very distant from us. We just want to let go of the pressure, and we're a generation that can't handle pressure. There are many things that we do today that really are just necessities of the time. In truth, from the day that the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Chazal, we find in the Gemara, they made a decree that one shouldn't listen to music. Can't listen to music. As Yimale Schaypinu, the pasuk tells us, then Yimale, when Hashem reveals himself at the end of time, then we will experience true joy and our mouths will be full of laughter. And yet, the greats of the generations realized that if we don't have music, we will fall into a depression. We're not capable of it. We need to hear music because for health purposes we need music. And there are people that are allowed to listen to music even in the 3 weeks and even during Sfira Sa'oma because we need it. But we have to know that there has to be some element of seriousness and awe to our acceptance. There has to be yira. The foundation is yira. Now we know that the 3 chagim, the 3 festivals, correspond to our 3 forefathers. The Torah tells us Pesach is Keneged Avraham, the festival of love and kindness. We go out into the wilderness, just like Abraham left it all behind in order to connect to Hashem. Sukkot, we know, is Yaakov. But Yaakov nosat Sukkosa. The Torah tells us that Yaakov himself built for himself a sukkah. Shavuos is Yitzchak. We actually say it, Ushvuos li Yitzchak, v'yamideh liyanker. Shavuos is Yitzchak. The festival of Shavuos corresponds to Yitzchak. And in fact, we know that at the Akedah, we talk about this at great length, at the Akedah, the ayil that Avram brought had a horn, had two horns. And one of those horns was the shofar that the Jewish people heard at Har Sinai. We would call it each Rosh Hashanah. When we blow the shofar, we're connecting to Hashem. Through the shofar, we're reminding Hashem of the shofar, of the Akedah, of Yitzchak. It's a little strange. What is it? At the giving of the Torah, did Hashem really blow on the shofar? He preserved the shofar of the ayil of the Akedah, and that's what he blew upon. You know, we call it Akedas Yitzchak. Really, it was Abraham's Nisayon. It was his 10th challenge, but it's always referred to for us as the Akedah of Yitzchak, Isaac's Akedah. And Akedah really means, what does Akedah mean? Akedah means to bind, to tie. Yitzchak is placed on the stones. We'll talk maybe tomorrow about the stones of the Mizbeach of the Akedah, very fascinating Mizbeach that Avraham Avinu built. But Yitzchak is tied on the Mizbeach and he's about to be slaughtered. And you know what we would be like if we were tied, God forbid, and about to die. Trembling. Yitzchak says to Abraham, Abba, tie me tighter. Tie me tighter. Kafseini yafe yafe. The Midrash says, Yitzchak said, tie me tight, just in case the moment the knife touches my neck and I flinch and it will invalidate the shechita. That's fear. Living in fear. And when we come to Shavuos, what we're really saying, you know, Torah is a marriage with Hashem. Marriage is responsibility. This is the marriage contract. And, you know, there's resistance. We want to live free. We want to live with love. If we're interested, we'll do it. We're not interested, we won't do it. I have to be able to dispense with self, suspend me, and invest myself in your will. Chukim. It's beyond reason, beyond rationale. I have to be part of you. It doesn't go without fear. Both are essential ingredients. We understand love is very important. If you don't have love, you don't have fuel. If we don't have fear, if we don't have real commitment, we also have no relationship. And the first thing when we come to the marriage ceremony is we say, Abba, kafseini yafe yafe. Tie me very tight, because I want this to be me. I want your will to be my will. I want to be one with you. I want this to be a total relationship. That's why it's so serious. Sometimes you can actually cut in a real chassan's tish. You can actually cut the tension with a knife. In some Hasidim and Ger, actually, it gets so tense, they actually take orange peels and they throw it to the chassan, just, you know, like, don't go overboard, just, you know, keep it balanced. Or wake him up a little bit, you know. Put it a little bit in perspective. Fear is a little bit of a lost ingredient in our society. There was a Kotzker Chassid of the great Kotzker Rebbe, who was in shul once in Warsaw, and outside there was a military parade. And instead of davening, he was looking through the window and he was transfixed, just looking the whole time at the military parade. And everybody else says, you got to daven, you don't want to look out the windows. The windows are only there just in case. In the middle of davening, your thoughts wander, so you should just look up to the Shemayim and have some yiras Shemayim. And he was just looking, gazing, gawking at these soldiers. And they asked him afterwards, like, what were you doing? He said, just capturing a little bit of a sense that I'm in the Tzivois Hashem. I'm in Hashem's army. I have to have Yira. It's not free and easy. We like religion on our terms. We like to come to shul in our flip-flops and our shorts and, right off the beach. And it all kind of just all comes together. It's easy, I have God too. There's a Yiddish expression, I really don't like this expression. Someone was telling it to me. They live in a very nice upscale community in Israel. And they were telling me, it's, there's shuls there, there's kolalim, there's everything, and there's like the best restaurants. He was telling me, it's just everything. It's segatzalite. Segatzalite. It's a Yiddish expression. It means you have God, it's segat, you're so connected to God, and segatzalite, you're really living it up. You have it all. That's really in our society what we advertise and what we strive for. We want to go on this vacation where it's like 5-star, we have everything there, beautiful sauna, beautiful spas, tantalizing food, and there's a dafyomi room, it's stocked with sforim, mikveh on premises, Rabbi so-and-so skull in residence, inspiring lectures. Torah is Tchilasa Yira. Torah is given, it's the Chag of Yitzchak. Yitzchak is Yira. Avram is Chesed. Yitzchak is Yira. When Hashem gives us the Torah, there is such a display of shock and awe, and the mountain is trembling. The Torah describes Pashas Yisroi. The fire, the thunder, the lightning, and the sound of the shofar is holech v'chozek mo'oid. It's getting stronger and stronger. The shofar is Yira. The shofar is I see you and I'm connected to you. We need a little bit of it. A little bit, just a little bit. Reb Sinkatla told me that her husband, Rav Shneer, the Rosh Yeshiva in Lakewood, at the beginning of the early years, there was great poverty. It was very difficult. He didn't have a chauffeur. He didn't have someone to drive him into the city. When he went in almost every day to try and collect funds to keep the yeshiva afloat after the death of his father. And there was a truck driver that used to make deliveries for the yeshiva, and he was going back to Brooklyn, so the Rosh Yeshiva would go with him to Brooklyn. He would sit in the front of the truck. There was no air conditioning. It was a boiling hot day. The truck driver, he said, when the Shiva house, he said the Rosh Yeshiva would always sit in the front, learning a sefer with his hat and his jacket. He'd never take it off. It would be boiling hot. And once, it was so sweltering, it was just unbearable. And I knew the Rosh Yeshiva probably is very thirsty, so I pulled into a gas station and I bought a cold can of soda. I gave it to the Rosh Yeshiva. But he said, thank you so much, but I can't drink it. I need a cup. I looked at Rosh Yeshiva. It was boiling hot. That's why you have the can. You open it and you drink. I said, I needed a cup. So he went to the next gas station. He was able to find a cup for the Rosh Yeshiva. There are certain nuances. People that live in the presence of Hashem recognize that we're in the army. There's an aye, sir. There's protocol. There's etiquette. That's what Torah is all about. It's following the laws. It's not following if I'm in the mood and I'm inspired, and if I'm not inspired, you've got to understand me, God, I need a little time out right now. I'm just a little, it's a little down, I need personal time. I'm coming back to you when it's the right time. I'll be there. It can't work like that. We have to have discipline. We have to say, Kafseni Yafa Yafa. Great people, real people, even if they are very emotionally propelled, live in a zone, a structured zone of discipline and responsibility to some degree, to some level. My Rabbi has that very, very strong combination of love and fear that complement one another. Sometimes you look at him and it's like scary. Beneath that face and beneath that demeanor and beneath that person is tremendous reservoirs of love. But it has to have boundaries and structure. Otherwise it's unsustainable. I remember once going to him for the meal after Yom Kippur. Now, after Yom Kippur is a very awesome, fearful day. You stand before God, and it's all about seeing Hashem. And Lifnei Hashem Titaru. And at the end of Yom Kippur, invariably, you know what we feel like after Yom Kippur. I did it. And now it's time to be able to switch on the music. Let loose. We're chafing at the bit a little bit. We experienced a little yoke of the fear of Hashem for the day, and now it's time, we did it. That's enough already. Thank you. We need to be free a little, let loose. I was at the meal, Matzah Yom Kippur. It was so serious, it was so somber. He was singing all the Yom Kippur songs all over again. And I'm thinking, I came out of there and I said, I thought Matzah Yom Kippur in my yeshiva after Yom Kippur, we used to have such an exhilarating dance. We're clean, we're free, we're ready to serve Hashem with love. We want to go into sukkahs. It's all about love. We want to build a sukkah. And I asked his son-in-law, I said, why is it so serious? And he said his father-in-law told him once, he said, after Yom Kippur we got a taste of Yiras Shamayim, we got a little taste of fear of heaven. It's so good. I want to hold on to it a little bit longer. I don't want to let go of it. That was a very important lesson I found for me to digest. It means we're not looking all the time, the fear is not just, okay, I'll do what you say, I'll follow what you need, I'll do the mitzvahs in order to get to the love. It's all in order to have the high times and to feel good and to feel the closeness. It's not about that. If it's genuine yira, then it is yira for the sake of yira. And in the yira there is great love. Vigilu birada, there is great joy. Yitzchak is schok, it's laughter. It's real joy, because if one experiences it properly, then one can naturally transition into a state of joy, true joy. We have this artificial laughter. Sometimes I catch my kid doing something and they're confronted with the truth. They don't know what to say, so they can't laugh. We're all like that. We have this childish, sometimes we laugh in order to deflect pressure and fear, which we don't like. We forcefully transition ourselves into a zone that we are just somewhat comfortable with because it's so intolerable. That's not real fear. That means we're running away. And our job is Kuda Kadma Yiras Hashem. Our job is, I can taste a little fear. I like it. I want it. I want to embrace your Torah and your mitzvahs for the sake of doing your will. I can be tied. I want to be your Eved. Avdos is Yira. A servant is obligated. And if he doesn't follow through, there are consequences. I want to do it. We'll close with this. I see we're going over time. Oh no. That watch says 37. Is my watch wrong? What's the time? 36. We're a little over time. Okay. Yitzchak in the Torah is categorized. There's a certain the Torah, everything the Torah tells us carries a message for eternity. It's relevant to each of us. The Torah describes Yitzchak as the well digger. First he dug his father's wells. Then he digs his own wells. And he's constantly digging wells. And the Plishtim are constantly stopping them up. Vayisatmun Plishtim vayimalim ofa. He digs the Be'eris asher chofa Avraham Oviv. Vayisatmun Plishtim. And they're constantly getting filled with earth. And he perseveres. He keeps knocking and he keeps banging away. He keeps drilling. And finally, his seventh well. His servants come to him. They find water. There's great joy. It's called Reich. Fear means I'm ready to do, even if I don't see results. I don't have to feel the emotional impulse and the high and the love and warmth. I'll dig. I'll follow my father's Masorah. I'll do even if I don't feel it. I just know this is the way it was done. You know, in today's contemporary society, when you say, I'm doing it because my dad did it, are you crazy? You're not progressive. Like, can't you think for yourself? What are you, just a zombie? Baal Shem Tov said, in these words, Ich bin ana en ich glaub. I'm an idiot. And I just believe, I just do it. And in a sense, that's Yira. I'll do it. Whether I feel like it or I don't feel like it. All my impulses and instincts say differently. Torah is the festival of Yitzchak. And it's predicated, our marriage is a very delightful time, it's a very joyous time. We'll indulge the body because we can harness the body to his will. It's not about letting our hair down and having a beautiful cheesecake festivities and bonanza. It's about taking it, connecting the dots, living in his presence, rejoicing with trepidation. May we all be a little bit to that Yiras Hashem, it's a little bit of a delighting in accepting the responsibilities of his Torah and mitzvahs. Good, thank you everyone.
Shabbos.
Good Shabbos!